Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up? Happy Wednesday. Jay Foreman back again, third hour with my man Harrison on ones and twos. Yeah, this is like a take the cool people to work day, man. We got my man, we got a special guest here, Jason Peter, coming in. He'll be in for during the week after every game. This was the first official one, but we got the man, the black shirt here. So I don't even need the computer, Harrison. This is awesome because we get to just locker room talk.
Yeah.
Well, within reason.
FCC within reason. Within reason. We got in a little trouble when we were down there at that Omaha World Herald thing. But Jason, there's a lot to cover. Before we get into Nebraska, I want to get your feelings on Millard South. I know you know that Millard South obviously is nationally ranked, and obviously there's a lot of teams obviously in where you're from in Jersey that have been nationally ranked, and you know how it is when they go around and play other schools. Yeah. What's your feeling on Millard South? And then I guess Lincoln and other schools either going to or potentially could forfeit games. Now, based on numbers and some are injury.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can be angry at Millard South for doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're using the rules to their advantage. You know, you're able to get kids from different areas. So you can't really blame them. But, I mean, they clearly are a dominant team. They made life for Westside a little more difficult, right? Because Westside was running the state prior to that. Disappointing to see Lincoln High not want to play.
Right.
You know, I'm sure there are games. I mean, you know, Pacific knew when they were coming in to play us, you know, that things probably weren't going to go well for them. I mean, a lot of teams, you know, probably figured that things weren't going to go well. But you got to show up and you got to play. You know, I mean, I don't know what their numbers are over there, if they're just short on guys, if they are just kind of worried that they're just going to get annihilated, you know, or guys going to get hurt. I mean, but also, you know, like, I don't know, it would have been a chance for Millard South to get some younger guys in and play. So, I mean, I don't know if you can play games or not play games based upon, you know, just
potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, I want to also ask you this: it's maybe the perception versus reality. Nobody knows because we aren't involved with Millard South. Is like, I think there's a way that you can handle it, and I've talked to Coach Darlington about this. So they like the coach. Right. Now it's different if you don't like the coach.
Right.
Where they were like always trying to turn the gas off. Yeah. Right. You know, kind of just doing enough and then play a lot of the young guys. I think if I'm Millard South, I call Lincoln and say, listen, I'm playing my starters for the first quarter.
Right. Then
I'll put my JV in, but my JV is going to play hard.
They're going to try to score.
Then I'd have a problem with Lincoln not playing. I think the perception, probably unfairly, and this is where I like your point where, you know, you need to applaud Millard South because they're nationally ranked. It's good for everybody.
Right.
It's good for kids that are in 8th grade that potentially could get recruited because they're going to be indirectly associated, is that the perception is that Millard South going to play their starters the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're like, you're missing that part, but.
Yeah, who did they beat 70-0 or something like that?
Lincoln or Southeast.
Southeast, right? So Lincoln High's probably looking at it like, if they want, they could put 100 up on us, right? Like, but I mean, come on, like, I don't know if the head coach at Millard South is thinking, okay, we're going to go into this game, we're going to try to score every time we touch the ball, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, I like what you said, you know, about, you know, we'll play our starters for the first quarter. You know, and the other guys will get the rest of the time.
Yeah, I wonder if there's ever going to be any change. I think the biggest change probably needs to happen probably here, like locally in Lincoln. Yeah. And we talked about this all the time. You got to be more competitive. You know this. You're from Jersey. You know, I'm from Minneapolis. You know, it's competitive. Yeah. It's competitive from 6th grade on up. Yeah. You start to infuse that, and you don't have to break rules. You just got to change that, you know, your vision on high school sports. You can even lock down by the counties if you want, just so you could just, all right, give everybody your fair shot. And if they're truly invested in Miller South, they're gonna move there.
Right.
But I think Lincoln probably needs to find a way to be actively more competitive, both in coaching, development, potentially going into the middle schools and stuff like that, and then obviously through high schools.
Are the rules set up different in Omaha as opposed to Lincoln, or is it pretty much all the same?
I don't know. That what, our text line is good, 402-464-5685. They know,
right?
Because we get texts all the time about it. There's ways around any rules, but I think also, for instance, potentially in Lincoln, is like say like you wanted to be in the LPS, like just say the Lincoln Public Schools. The perception is that if you're a really good coach, Jason Peters is a really good coach at whatever sport, so you want to do hockey or whatever, that you potentially have to be a teacher.
Right.
I don't think it's that much. First of all, I don't need to be teaching anybody. I don't need to be. I could be a gym teacher, but I think those are the type of things that probably need to be more laxed and then supported, because then you'll be able to catch up faster.
Yeah.
Because if you go to if you just walk around Lincoln on a game day, or go through high schools, there's some good looking athletes out there walking around. You've been to plenty of high schools.
Yeah.
That need to get coached and encouraged to be better, sport, or maybe get involved in the sport.
Yeah.
Make it the cool thing to do. So,
and there's enough money. And I mean, I know you look at like West Side, and clearly they've done well with like fundraising and getting the facilities. I mean, we went up there the other day for a volleyball match, and my daughter got in the car afterwards, and she's like, "Geez, Dad, I didn't know that I went to school in the ghetto compared to West Side." You know what I mean? And Lincoln East is a pretty good school, I think. The facilities seem to be good, but yeah, I mean, there are some schools that have just picked it up. I mean, obviously up the street here, you see. I mean, we've talked about Pius kind of being like a sleeping giant. If they kind of, think about doing some of the things, be more committed to sports and take advantage of some of the rules that, I mean, kind of like how Creighton Prep used to be.
Yeah, be like that, way ahead of everybody. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to think Southwest has a pretty good, they got a nice little parking lot of cars there. You can't judge everything by that, but so there's opportunity there, and there's probably enough potential funding, and maybe you need more facilities around here to train. And you got to,
I think you got to build it too from like that, the middle school level as well, right? Like the programs, the clubs, the teams that the kids are playing for. I know that you got, Woo Woo up there in Omaha, and his deal, the Warren Academy, and places where guys can train and do that sort of stuff. At the same time, like, I'm a big believer in kids should also play multiple sports.
Right.
I'm not really, one of those guys that's like, let's do football all year round. I mean, it's a sport that you can get burnt out on really easy, especially for kids that are still kind of, developing physically and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, I think, when you look at that, at that high school level, that I think have to be done in order to have your high school teams reach that sort of success.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff there. I mean, we got some administrators that listen, so I'm sure we'll get some emails and stuff. But on to the Huskers, Jason. They're 4-1, about to go on the road. Before we get into the schemes and all that stuff, talk about. I think one of the things I think it's a young team, and their experience, but their inexperience of playing with each other. Talk about the mindset you need when you get on that plane or a bus to go on your first true road game.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't matter if you were young or old. Like when we used to travel, like you got to that bus, and to even just to get to the airport, and everyone was already starting to dial it in, right? Like you were getting locked in. I mean, there's the story of Chad Kelsey and Matt Davison when we're flying out to Seattle to play Washington, and he looks over at Chad, and
I was sitting right there. He was in between us. I was laughing,
and he's like, so Chad, you think we're gonna win this game? And Chad just kind of looked at him, grabbed him by the throat and like jacked him up against the window in there and said, we plan on winning every game. And that's just the mindset. Like, yeah, I mean, you can talk and you can have conversations, but there's nobody's loud, nobody's laughing out loud. Like, you are starting to dial it in. And then when, when your wheel's down, it's even, you're dialed in even more. When you get to the hotel, all right, it's dialing in even more. And it just keeps building. And I'm sure there were times like Coach Osborne would worry, my gosh, these guys are going to be too tight, too early. Because we would show up to the stadium and like, I mean, you remember the locker rooms. You didn't hear a mouse fart in those things. If you wanted to listen to music, you had to bring headphones. It wasn't one of those, where you're just kind of you're playing it out loud and yeah. So like when you talk about the young team too, I mean, I don't know. Can you look at programs anymore and be like, okay, well, they're young, right? Like, because the way NIL and transfer portal works and everything, like, you're constantly putting a new team together every single year, right? So like, yeah, we have a bunch of young guys now, but how many of those young guys are going to stick around, right? Like, you're going to have a lot of guys that probably are like, I think I should be playing, and Kansas State or Old Miss is offering me, $100,000 more. I'm going to go down there and play. And so you're just constantly like recycling and rebuilding. So I don't know if it's like, back in the day, if you ended up with a bunch of young guys that were really talented, maybe, the potential was there more for, to be better, as opposed to, until the older guys are kind of out the door. But now it's like, you're building a new team every year. So I don't know how necessarily you look at like the age of your team.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just I think sometimes people don't understand the experience of playing with each other. Yeah. What we were fortunate enough to do, which made everybody better. I think you won't maybe able to replicate that except for maybe 2 or 3 years. That's what Ohio State did. They had a bunch of guys that played with each other, kind of bring in some added pieces. Then you're off to the races. I think one of the biggest things that when you go on the road that I learned I remember, I'll never forget when we went down to Oklahoma State. I was a freshman starting. I was like, hey, look, I got to is respect. I mean, I was scared, everything, but you got to respect people's space. And the locker room is a very unique like place to whereas some guys, don't listen to any music. Right. Some guys bring, and even in college, 3 bags. Yeah. You're like, what the hell you got in there? Then like Chad Kelsey, I always mess with Chad. I was like, you got a toothbrush, toothpaste, a pair of socks, and some underwear. He brought a little toiletry bag. Yeah. And there's some guys that, wear headphones and all that. So that's where you have to learn when you're inexperienced of playing and traveling with each other. You got to learn that. Now you can kind of circumvent that by knowing your teammates very well, but like you said, you're not turning the roster over, but you're kind of always adding pieces, based on who leaves, to, greener pastures or like they think, or possibly the NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see, how they move forward on the road.
Yeah. And you mentioned a big part there, back, I'm not going to say back in the day, but, 15, 20 years ago, I think, guys that only thought of coming out early, it was like if you were going to be a first or second rounder, right? But now I think guys look at it like, hey, I think the NFL is interested in me. Like, I'm gonna dip my toes in there and I'm gonna take a shot, right? Like, and you see a lot of guys that will declare for the draft and then not get drafted at all. Right. So even when you're talking about being young, like you'd love to have those guys play out until their senior years, right? But chances are nowadays a lot of them aren't. So and then you're missing out on senior leadership, which I think is it's huge, right? Like there's a big difference between a senior that has been through the program for 4 or 5 years, being one-year leaders as opposed to a sophomore or a true junior or something like that. Even
been through some battles,
right? Like you just gotta. I mean, the only way that you you understand is by being through it and being through, team after team and seeing, how the guys, when you were a freshman, how the leaders did it. And then when you're a sophomore, how they did it, and junior. And then eventually, it's your turn. And it's like, well, I saw that guy do it. And that was so effective. And, guys really rallied around that message and, the way that he did this or did that. And I think it's just tough when you're asking guys that have not really been through battles to now all of a sudden lead the team.
You gotta have like not get lucky, but you gotta have somebody that really wants to lead. I think the way these kids are these days, they
don't want to.
Yeah, you see it like I coach basketball. They just, you got practice. We'll be on the road. You have 2 kids go here, 3 go here, 1 by himself, 1 you don't even see all weekend until it's time to, then you have kids sometimes drive themselves, so they're just off doing it.
They don't want to confront one another. Like that's super uncomfortable for them, is to confront one of their peers, right? So they would rather just kind of, keep their head down and, well, I lead by example. Well, that's great to lead by example, but if you're also, one of like the guys, you got to step out of your comfort zone. Like it wasn't easy for you think about all the great leaders that we had, and literally, like, even though there was only 4 that were named captain each year, you could have 20 guys, 30 guys that could have stepped in and filled that role. Because that was just the environment, that was the culture that was created down there by Coach Osborne. And now I think sometimes it's like, well, this guy's supposed to be he's both the best, or we think is the best player, he should be the captain. And it's not always like that. I mean, the biggest example of that is Tommy Frazier not being the captain. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been or he should have been. I'm just saying it doesn't always come down to the best player being the best leader.
Yeah, I mean, it's you see that all the time, especially in the pros. Like, he'll be a special teams guy,
right?
Like a Larry Izzo,
right?
Or like one of those guys, or like Slater that was up in New England for like 18 years. Seems like he played forever. Whoever can capture the team and lead by example, but obviously back their words up by action is going to be huge. Move, especially for this team coming down the stretch, right? And the stretch is about to start. Jason, these next 3 games are huge just because there's a lot of opportunity there. It's not comparable to obviously when we play, but I want to ask you, the only thing that's comparable is the breakthrough from you were here in 93 and you seen, you were there.
Right.
Then you saw the difference maybe, or whenever the light clicked on in 94. I was here in 94, but you were in it.
Right.
What are some of the things that you saw the difference from, like, just forget 93, 94, but just from a team that was somewhat close with a tangible result, would you get hosed by Florida State, to a team that, all right, they're ready?
I think in order to gain that true belief in yourself and your teammates, you got to win, right? Like you got to win something. That's why I think the Michigan game was so big and was such a game for us to take, right? And the positives that would have come out of that, because now it's not just saying it, right? Like, it's not just the coach up there saying, I believe in these guys and they believe in it, right? But you can believe in it, right? But until you actually have gone out and done it, right? So I think like that was the big thing, like those 90s teams prior to like us getting there, they would have good regular seasons, right? And then they'd go down, they'd play a Florida team in the bowl game, and there'd just be, like a different level of speed. And I think that was the difference in 93 when we went down to the Orange Bowl and played Florida State. And it was like, we're just as fast as these guys. We can make just as many plays. Now there's like a belief, and then from 93 to 94, it was just national. Like, we didn't talk about it, publicly. We just went about our business, but there was this belief in that locker room that we could play with anybody, we could beat anybody, and that we were planning on winning every one of them next year.
Yeah, it was. I came in and rode the wave. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool. And then after that, but the only thing from as a young player, you learn, like, all right, well, you got to work every day. Right. There is no off days. Yeah. I mean, even as a redshirt, you had to put in work. But
you remember, like it was, you didn't go to practice thinking, well, I can just half-ass it, or I can have 5 bad plays, or like if there was always the threat that Charlie or Kevin Steele
was watching,
that they were watching, and if they saw you loafing, and that would be the worst thing, right? You'd rather just get completely crushed by a double team, or something, as opposed to one of them seeing you loaf, because they would yank you out. Your job would be on the line. You'd probably get demoted, at least for a few days,
right.
maybe even for the next game. But there was always that voice on your shoulder telling you, if you don't go a million miles an hour this play, and ultimately every play that we did throughout practice, that there was a possibility that if and they're going to see it, whether they see it live or they see it on film.
Yeah.
They're going to see it, and they're going to hold you accountable for it.
Yeah. It was. I remember Coach McBride, like when you're young, he just look at you crazy.
Oh yeah.
And you just sitting there wondering, what is he thinking? And you always think the worst. So,
Right.
And so that was it. Then you think about it for 2 or 3 days.
Oh yeah.
And then he just keep looking at you. And the next thing you know, you're in spring ball the next year. Then you get the dip in your mouth or in your face.
Oh yeah.
When he gets mad at you. But Jason, real quick before we go to break, and then we'll obviously dive into this year's team. Talk about the difference maybe in the defensive line play from Michigan to Michigan State. What you saw in in a positive way. They seemed like they worked on some things.
Yeah.
And had some better results.
I think they were a little more physical. Now, I mean, obviously you're dealing with, when you're comparing Michigan and Michigan State, an inferior opponent. Michigan State probably not at the level that Michigan is. I didn't think that either offensive line was great. I think Michigan's was better than Michigan State's, but maybe not. Michigan's not up to the standard as, say, like when Jim Harbaugh was there. But against Michigan, I didn't think the D-line did a good job of using their hands. I don't think they were kind of locking blocks out, and that's why it's hard to get off of blocks. And that's why you're seeing, so many of these schools are running just kind of that zone cutback, right? And you got to have separation as a defensive lineman in order to make those plays, because sometimes you're covering, the outside gap. Say, my responsibility is that B gap, and you're kind of working there. But if he cuts it back, right, you got to have your hands on that guy so you can throw the offensive lineman and come back underneath, and you can make a play, say, in the A gap.
Right.
And that's just hard to do when you're not locked out, because offensive linemen, I mean, how when you're in that box, man, if they just get hold of you, they're not letting go. And you're not going to get a call for that unless you're out on the edge and you're getting completely, yanked back inside or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a positive. I think they were better than they were the previous week. So that's all you can ask, is that, each day you go out and you get better than you were the day before. But that doesn't mean, if you have expectations for the season, and like we've heard, they've mentioned college football playoff and stuff, like if you want to be a team that makes it that far, then you need to be able to do those fundamental things correctly.
Right.
Like, you're not in this conference, in the SEC, if you don't have 11 guys out there playing with good technique that know what they're doing on every single play, right? Because all it takes, you can play great for if there's 70 plays in a game, you could play great for 69 plays, but that one play that one guy is loafing on or not doing what he's supposed to do, that might cost you the game.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, I don't think a lot of people really understand everybody thinks the offense needs to score, but it's the pressures on the defense, because you're always playing defense, but
right.
They're an advantage before the ball is even snapped. And so that's why you have to be so fundamentally sound. And communication has to be, at its highest. So we're going to take a quick break, come back. We'll talk a little bit more about the defense and what to expect against Maryland. I'm going to ask Jason from his experience on how to defense a running quarterback, one that runs just the run, primarily like a Michael Vick or somebody like that, or one that can scramble and then also throw on the run. So Jay Foreman, Jason Peter, Harrison, Old School. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Takes it all the way. Win way more than bragging rights at Warhorse Casino, where your love of the game could put $1 million in your pocket. The Pro Football Frenzy is free to play with prizes all season long. Weekly cash prizes up to $1,000 cash, season-long leaderboards, and a chance to win $1 million. Only at Warhorse Casino. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see mostly sunny skies and light winds. High around 67. Tonight, clear skies and light variable winds, below around 45. And tomorrow, we'll see mainly sunny skies with a light breeze, acting high near 69. I'm meteorologist Kyle Flecker from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Drink locally and support local business during Lincoln's Craft Beer Week, October 11th through the 18th. Great beer, cider, distillates, and more are made right here in Lincoln. For more info, visit lincoln.org/beer-week. Brought to you by Visit Lincoln. Remember to enjoy responsibly.
Tune in every Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. for The Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters. Sit back and enjoy listening to Dr. Chatters discuss real stories involving struggle, inspiration, and real-life experiences with special guests and insights. Remember, the higher the pressure, the greater the lift. The Law of Lift with Dr. Lawrence Chatters. Every Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Are you ready to transform your body and your life in just 10 weeks? At Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping, our kickboxing challenge combines heart-pumping cardio, strength training, and proven nutrition coaching to deliver real results. Lose fat, gain strength, and feel more confident than ever. Spots are limited. Don't wait. Join the next Farrell's 10-week challenge starting October 11th and take the first swing towards a healthier, stronger you. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping, results, not excuses. Join today, fxblincoln.com. That's fxblincoln.com.
Hey, Husker fans, Max 10 is turning up the excitement this season. They're giving away a pair of Husker volleyball tickets, and every time you tan, you're entered to win. Experience the 2025 season tour featuring high-pressure tanning, rejuvenating red light therapy, and flawless spray tanning, all for just $20.25. Look good, feel amazing, and cheer on the Lady Huskers in style. Max Tan. Take it to the max.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at doorsplusllc.com. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740. MHC isn't a new company, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can handle your commercial moves as well. MHC Moving has 0 hidden fees. You'll never pay for same-day booking or be charged for stairs, heavy items, or elevator fees. Rates are the same Monday through Saturday, and you will never pay a truck or fuel surcharge. And they offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com. Comfort food, but make it vegan. At Rutabagas, they're serving all your crave-worthy classics. Mac and cheese, loaded nachos, Philly cheesesteaks, all 100% plant-powered and 100% delicious. Catch them at their cozy spot at 70th and Vine or find their food truck rolling through the streets of Lincoln. So whether you're vegan, veg curious, or just hungry for comfort food with a twist, Rutabagas has a plate waiting for you. Find them on Instagram for their food truck location and specials. Rutabagas, where comfort meets compassion.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up, Jay Foreman? Got a special guest. So it'll be a weekly guest now. So we got Jason Peter, Harrison on the ones and twos, Old School, the black shirt edition. We got black shirt wrap up. We'll make up some name for it. But, you know, one of the things you face a Maryland team that's always going to have athletes. You know, the DMV and in Pennsylvania and all the places they recruit. Mike Loxley can recruit. So you always got your work cut out for us, no matter who you play, but in particular a team like this at home. Jason, I'm from the mindset running quarterbacks. Never scared us, never scares me just because I feel like, you know, we were athletic enough that we didn't have to worry about it. We had Terrell Farley's and all them, but then also I was blessed enough to have coordinators that we kind of schemed up and put the pressure, took actually the onus off of sacks versus team defense. Yeah. So it never really hurt us. Right. But from a defensive lineman perspective, talk about the difference of facing a running quarterback and then maybe a running quarterback that, like when Russell Wilson was really good, that can run and looks to throw on the run.
Well, it was funny. I think my second or third year was maybe it was my last year. I'm not sure when what year Mike Vick come in.
I don't know, but he was a problem.
Yeah, I had never seen defensive coordinators start to panic, you know, until he was on the game tape of you know, your next week's game. Yeah, you know, the thing is, like, you just got to know that you got to have lane integrity when you're playing guys that can tuck that ball and can run. So even, you know, in pass situations, you can still work the edges, but it's got to be quick, right? Like, you can't do this like prolonged kind of club rip to the outside where the offensive lineman's just kind of riding you and you're trying to lean hard in on it, right? Because the quarterback's just going to take it and he's going to run. Once that seam is created and that crease is created in the defense, then, you know, you've got corners that are running downfield with their backs turned to the quarterback. You got linebackers that are dropping. So the front really has to do a good job of staying in your lane and just kind of collapsing that pocket. So a lot of bull rushes that you got to be able to do. Right. But again, you got to be able to use your hands, even in those bull rushes, because you got to be able to either go left or go right, depending on what you think that quarterback's going to do. Defensive ends just can't rush up the field and run by, behind the quarterback.
Right.
It doesn't just have to be from tackle to tackle. It can be outside the tackle too. If one of those guys gets way up the field, that creates a big seam in the defense. So you have to be aware of it every time you are rushing the quarterback. And it's just, that's the reality of it. For the second that you think, okay, I got this, I'm going to beat this guy to the outside, or I'm going to, come underneath on something, you're just going to get washed down. You're going to create this big gap in the front, and the quarterback's going to hit his head on the goalpost.
Yeah, I mean, that's we were blessed to have Charlie, but I think when you scheme up and you kind of create a wall, actually running quarterbacks actually panic.
Yeah.
And if your coordinator is the same coordinator I had at Houston,
right.
And Vic Fangio, he's a great coordinator. He's with Philly now, and obviously won the Super Bowl. I remember when we played Mike Vick, and Vic is always kind of like snarky or whatever. But I remember, I'm like, yo, he was up there all night.
Right.
Trying to figure out, and I remember one time walking out to practice with him. He was telling me about all the, Mike Vick. I said, Vic, I got to play against him.
Yeah.
You just got to call the plays. And he started laughing, and he was like, "Well, I'm glad I'm not playing against him." But also, Jason, I wanted to ask you about, and we talk about it all the time, and we try to educate some of the fans, the difference between. I don't think there's a big difference now in these days because of the way the offenses dictate stuff. But talk about the difference in D-line play of a quote-unquote 3-man front and a 4-man front, because Nebraska runs both. They even ran bear front. Just talk about the difference of the so-called different schemes and then the 3-man and 4-man front.
I mean, I always like the 4-man front. If you have two guys that are in the middle, obviously one of them you'd love to be like kind of that rock in the middle, right? Like Christian was like, he was this stump that, couldn't be moved, but he was also active as well. And then have a 3 technique that maybe is a little more athletic. If you have 2 dudes in the middle, then you can really unleash those outside guys, right? Like our whole mindset was from the interior, from Christian and myself, or whoever it was, the 2 defensive tackles, that we were playing run to pass, right? So we always, unless it was third down, obviously, and then you knew, pass was coming. But for like Grant and Jared, those guys went pass to run. So it just enables you to do some other stuff. It kind of depends on, which one is better. Depends on what type of offense you're playing. I think anytime, you have a team that can run the football, it's obviously great to have another big guy out there. But I think when you're in a 3-man front, and it depends, it varies. When I got to Carolina and we were basically playing, 3 down linemen, we were kind of more like holding up, those offensive linemen so that the linebackers could run free and they could really run. I mean, those are the guys with the athleticism. So you want those guys being able to run sideline to sideline. But as you watch other teams that run 3-man fronts, a lot of them are active, and it's kind of like, the stuff that Tony White was doing where, you bring up a lot of guys onto the line of scrimmage, like the old Steelers kind of used to do. And that creates a lot of confusion, I think, for the offense. Who's coming? Who's dropping? Is this 5 technique long scooping all the way down to A gap?
Right.
Are they running him and the outside linebacker running a stunt? I think they both have their pros and cons. Ultimately, whatever defense you're in, you need guys that play with great technique. Especially up front. Like you just cannot survive up front if you don't know how to play with your hands. Like those are your weapons. Like, so, and especially with the amount of zone that I think teams run nowadays.
With the dual block or whatever. Yeah.
You got to be able to get off of blocks. You got to be able to keep your lane integrity. You got to be able, gap integrity, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, we've seen Nebraska do some of both this year. I don't know. You're the guy that's kind of behind everything. I mean, what do you like to see?
Well, I mean, I think it's different based on, like you said, who you're playing, who your personnel is. Like I came in, like I played 4-3 here, go to Buffalo, we're 3-4.
Right.
Well, you got Ted Washington in there at middle, along with Bruce Smith. So I had two guys that are Hall of Famers that they got a game plan for. So I was just doing whatever I wanted. I could misread something, run over there and make a play because Ted was going to handle it. Then I went to Houston. And we had 3-4 personnel, but we ran a lot of four. We ran odd front, which is just a 0 and 2 5s. But then we ran some over and under front, and majored in it.
Yeah.
And then we played, a lot of nickel and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing is like what you talked about with hands. In my opinion, I think the D-line and linebackers are married together.
Right.
You can't have a defensive line that's really good, fundamentally sound, and then linebackers are undisciplined. If you teach hands with defensive line, you got to teach it with linebackers. The reason why I think is because there's two, and I think you need to do it both ways. I think there's some defenses you want them to, D-line to rip up field and do whatever. Then that means the linebackers have to do the same.
Right.
Or if you teach it the opposite, is because when you're playing against a lot of these zone schemes where they're trying to stretch you sideways and get vertical, everybody's almost got a 2-gap. But you got to be aggressive. You got to be able to play your gap, fall back. And if everybody's doing in unison, there is no running game at all. But when you have one guy out of sorts or forgets what he's supposed to do in a certain scheme, that's where you run into trouble. Then it kind of like, it's like a bad, like omen that goes through the defense. Everybody starts to guess. And that's where you got to really, know the why. And that's what Nebraska's going to have to do when they play against Maryland. When you hear Coach Mike Locksley says they think they can run the ball, essentially he's like, we're going to try to run it. I wanted to ask you about Dante Culpepper because this is kind of what this quarterback reminds me of. I remember playing in that game. Remember you hear how big he is and all that in Central Florida. Talk about playing against Dante Culpepper and talk about how we had to attack him because we were coming in there. We got to hit him low.
Yeah.
But he's 6'5". What was he? 6'5".
He was 6'4", 6'5", something like that. Yeah.
Something, right? Fast too. Talk about that because that little tip that Charlie gave is like you got to hit this dude low was almost like, dang. I looked at his legs. I was like, that dude has some tree trunks. He's built like a D lineman. Talk about that because I think Nebraska might have to take on that mentality facing Malik Washington.
Yeah, that's tough. Dante was like you said, he was a big dude. There were a couple times that I feel like I had him back there in the backfield and he was one of those guys that, not like some of the other quarterbacks where you just kind of bear hug him and you can take him down. He was strong. Like you said, his legs were big, but he could also run. You want to get to a guy. Dante wanted to throw the ball, but he could run. The pass rush has got to be good. But at the same time, you also have to do all the lane integrity and all that stuff. So those guys create challenges, I think, when you play. And like you said, this kid from Maryland is a big body kid who can sling it. And he can also run. Really talented runner. And I think, we've always had problems, I think, here over the last 20 years with quarterbacks that can run. It's going to create some issues, but nothing that you can't overcome. I just think at the end of the day, everybody, like you said, needs to be in tune with one another. I know even when talking about the run game and kind of the zones and stuff like that, like they teach it a little differently now. I know lots of coaches, if a guard is trying to reach a 2 technique or a 3 technique, kind of to the outside, sometimes they just want that defensive tackle to get upfield, right? Well, then the linebacker better, he's got to be coming. He better be coming because if that defensive tackle gets up the field and can force that cutback, well, he's cutting back kind of, so all the flow, all that stuff has to be kind of locked in tune with one another. But yeah, those and not to say that we never had, issues with mobile quarterbacks. I mean, I remember remember Todd Doxson down at Iowa State.
Yeah, Michael Bishop too.
Michael Bishop.
He was a problem.
I mean, those guys, it's tough. And you need depth, I think, on the defensive line, especially when you're trying to rush guys like that. So I would imagine that we would get some sort of rotation going for this game, because you need fresh legs, especially when you're talking about another guy that's got wheels on him that can run, because everybody's got to be running after the football as well. It's not can't be like Chris Jones the other night.
Chilling,
just chilling on the 5-yard line watching, what's his name go in.
I mean, in the NFL, it's a little bit, he makes so much money, you can't say much, but man, Charlie would be. I
mean, that was hard to watch. He could have. I'm not going to say he would have made the play, but he would have definitely had a chance to make the play.
And the worst thing is, because you never know.
Yeah,
you never
that's
know.
Right.
But what we know is we're up against the break. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna ask Jason what he wants to see, or what he expects to see, or has to see for Nebraska to pull out the victory in a short segment. Jay Foreman, Jason Peter. We'll be right back.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hey, Husker fans, Max 10 is turning up the excitement this season. They're giving away a pair of Husker volleyball tickets, and every time you tan, you're entered to win. Experience the 2025 season tour featuring high-pressure tanning, rejuvenating red light therapy, and flawless spray tanning, all for just $20.25. Look good, feel amazing, and cheer on the Lady Huskers in style. Max 10. Take it to the max.
Comfort food, but make it vegan. At Rutabagas, they're serving all your crave-worthy classics. Mac and cheese, loaded nachos, Philly cheesesteaks, all 100% plant-powered and 100% delicious. Catch them at their cozy spot at 70th and Vine, or find their food truck rolling through the streets of Lincoln. So whether you're vegan, veg-curious, or just hungry for comfort food with a twist, Rutabagas has a plate waiting for you. Find them on Instagram for their food truck location and specials. Rutabagas, where comfort meets compassion. Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in temperature-controlled high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars. That's Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Attention all Wings fans, Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays enjoy 40% off boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.39 chicken tenders all day long. Get to Wings and Rings today, 68th and O, or in Williamsburg Village.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, Apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740. All right, Lincoln, if you're a diesel technician who's ready to earn up to $40 an hour and you're tired of working nights and weekends, listen up. Inland Truck Parts and Service is hiring experienced diesel technicians right here in Lincoln, and they're offering what every hardworking tech wants. Monday through Friday hours, no nights, no weekends, and paid training on advanced diesel technology. With 37 locations across 12 states, career advancement opportunities are endless. Start building towards your future and apply today at inlandtruck.com. That's inlandtruck.com. Or text APPLY to 785-369-1320.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Mike Smith, founder of The Bay. Join me every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for your weekly Disrupt, where me and local misfits will interrupt your drive time with this week's most interesting stories in sports, entrepreneurship, and culture. So tune in to your weekly Disrupt every Tuesday afternoon on 93.7 The Ticket, where disruption is just a phone call away.
This fall, Baumgars has everything you need to get your farm ready for the season. Don't miss Fall Discount Day this Saturday, October 11th, for one day only. Get 17% off regular priced items. That's right, 17% off. From the barn to the backyard, Baumgars has you covered for all your field, farm, and fall fix-ups. Some exclusions apply. See a store associate for details. Baumgars, what you need, when you need it.
Load up on meat and more this spring at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, with great selections of T-bones, tomahawks, ribeyes, filet mignon, brisket, sirloin, and so much more. The Mercado has locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Old Cheney in Lincoln, where you can have $2 draft beer every Thursday night from 4 to 8 p.m. and half-price espresso drinks on Fridays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jay Foreman, Jason Peter, quick segment before we turn it over to Bill Mitcher and Lighthouse. They always do it, bring in good light, man. Bill's a good dude. But before that, hour goes by quick, Jason. So we got to make sure we get busy every week from here on out. But moving forward, or I guess this weekend, what do you want to see from Nebraska after, showing the will to win against Michigan State?
I think this is the sixth game of the season now. You got to start to see them do the little things right, or not do the little things wrong, right? Like the jumping off sides, the missed tackles, stuff like that. It's time to start locking it in and start showing what type of team you actually are going to be, right? Are you going to be one of these that doesn't show up for quarters at a time? Are you going to be, the type of team that has guys jumping off sides on the 2-inch line? Are you going to be a team that you have the running back pretty much wrapped up behind the first down marker, and then ultimately he gets breaks away? Because if you're talking about being a team that maybe can somehow get to the college football playoff, you can't do that sort of stuff. You can't make those mistakes, right? Like we got to start kind of dialing it in here and showing up for 4 quarters and taking care of business. Teams that you're more talented than overall, you got to beat, and they can't. Like I don't buy into the whole every game in the Big Ten is going to be a 1-score game. Like I'm pretty sure Ohio State doesn't have 1-score games. I'm pretty sure. Well, Penn State obviously disappointing this last week, but now you got 2 teams that are a threat for Nebraska because you got to play UCLA and you got to play Penn State, and I'm guessing Penn State's going to refocus here, right? But now you got UCLA with more confidence. But I want to see them start to do the little things right. Get off the field on 3rd down, run the football, because at the end of the day, and you saw it, you saw how the weather was an issue. this past week against Michigan State with the wind, right? And we're not even in bad season yet.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to be able to run the football. You got to have something. You got to be able to protect the quarterback. You got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to stop the run. You got to be able to get after the quarterback. These are things like if you're going to be a good team, you got to be able to do those things.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're 100% right. And I think to even double down on it, I mean, I want you to see to do the little things longer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're doing them better in short spurts. Do it longer and sustain drives.
Yeah.
Really, I think right now you need to, it's almost like when you get to like game 6, maybe 7, your whole mentality on like how a football game goes.
Right.
It's got to be like, all right, we got to try to bleed these guys,
Right.
Down. Like, if you had 10 possessions against, total possessions or 12 possessions against Cincinnati in the beginning,
Right.
the funny season, now you're thinking like, let's try to shrink this bad boy to
Right.
9 and or whatever, 10, and we got 6 of them.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that, then you make the game becomes easier because I think Nebraska getting off the bus got an advantage. So we'll see here in about 72 hours. And then when Jason comes back, we always will victory and think about the black shirts. But for my man Jason J. Foreman, the black shirt edition, old school, we'll holler at you tomorrow.